Good morning. So I'm out on a walk with the dogs and thought I'd start the video here. I had started the video earlier this week, and for those of you who joined me last week, I mentioned I had hurt my hip, and I thought I would share some of the strengthening exercises I was given by the doctor's surgery to help support my hip until I go for some physio. Well, the instructions were really poor, and some of the exercises were, I couldn't quite understand how it was going to benefit my hip at all, and I decided it wasn't worth doing for you. So, starting again. So, what we'll do is a bit of a mishmash this week, I think, because I've got a day out tomorrow with a friend, which I want to share some of that with you, because I think it might be of interest. But I also want to make some sauerkraut, so I thought we'd start that. It won't all be ready in time for when the video goes out, because it takes a bit of time to ferment. But I thought I'd just show you how easy it is. I had planned to do that another time so that I could have it over, make it and have it completed by the time I actually filmed it, type of thing, and aired it. But no, we start off today. It's quite cool, actually. We've had a whole week of glorious weather. And so I look as though I've been dragged through a hedge backwards. I have been through several hedges this week, literally. Yeah, it's a bit cooler today, which is quite nice for the dogs, but we're desperate for some rain around here now. These crops are doing very well. If I turn, we've just walked through that field, and it's shoulder height for me. But some of the other crops are looking absolutely desperate now. So, yeah, we're going to make some sauerkraut. My way of making sauerkraut. So, see you shortly. Actually, to show you the girls, if I can. There they go. Living their best life. Welcome to Doddington Hall, built by Robert Smithson and completed in the 1600s, hardly changed since, but the interior has taken on a Georgian style by Sir John Delaval in the 1760s. So the family name has changed throughout the time, but it's gone through the female line 5 times, but the house has never been sold. So it's got this wonderful eclectic mix of interior decoration, ceramics, portraits. It's an amazing house, one of the best I've ever seen. Much of the decoration has remained unchanged since the 18th century. And here is the drawing room, which is on the 2nd floor. You can see this beautiful rugs and lovely furniture with porcelain on the top, a lovely satin wood piano, which was bought by Edward Delaval for his daughter Sarah Gunman. And this is a tented room. This is only about the quarter of the whole tent is being shown here. It's actually a pliqué Egyptian tent and was a gift to Colonel Jarvis, who was one of the owners. And now this is the gallery on the top floor. This portrait caught my eye particularly because of the intricacy of the lace on her dress and how you can see through that lace. I was also taken with the blue and white porcelain, which I particularly love, and there's a lot of Chinese porcelain here. So this gallery is lined with portraits, and it can be used as a wedding venue actually, which is a lovely room to be in. And there's a particular window that overlooks the parterre garden, boxed edge parterre below, and this was particularly charming. You could see some of the iris in bloom below, roses, and up on the wall you can see there's some wisteria, and I'll show you a closer look at that shortly. And the avenue goes down to a pyramid of some sort of folly. I have to admit I've not been down there to see it, but the gardens really are worth looking at. And you can, when you buy your ticket, you can see the house and the gardens, and I think it's fabulous value. So again, more bearded iris going into the walled garden. They have a lovely walled garden here with flowers and vegetables, and I think this is worth a look. You can see May is a great time to see the plants come into bloom. And here is the pond in the centre of this garden, again lined with yellow iris, which is really charming, with the gravel path that makes that lovely crunch under your foot. And here we have got the bug hotels, surrounded by the alliums, and again there's such a lovely mix of plants here. And this is the vegetable garden, and they use these vegetables in the restaurant that's attached to Doddington Hall. And here we have that beautiful close-up of the wisteria. It's magnificent, and oh yes, this was just charming. And this is one of the shops on the estate, and I really think the items in here are beautiful, lovely items. And it's definitely worth a visit. Right, well, I'm in the kitchen, as you can tell, and I'm about to make the sauerkraut. So I thought I'd just mention why fermented foods are good. Basically, the bacteria on the food itself, and we use the natural bacteria that comes with the food, helps break it down. And this also supports our gut, and these become food for the gut bacteria. So we're supporting those bacteria in our gut microbiome that are very supportive of our health. So we find that with fermented foods, we can get perhaps a natural boost to our gut bacteria. There's still a question about whether supplements, probiotics, are actually of any use or not. Some people believe that the stomach acid will destroy them before they get to your intestines, your small intestine, or your large intestine I should say, which is quite likely. I think a lot are killed in that process, but there's still a lot of science that suggests that they do get through and you can see benefits. And I would say with clinical experience, yes, you can get some benefits from probiotic supplementation. Now, I'm not recommending that through this video. It's something you need to find out for yourself, should that be the route. But with food, I think this is a good route. Now, you do have to be careful about the fermentation going wrong and mold appearing, but it's usually quite obvious to see. So I'm going to make sauerkraut. Now, I've got a white cabbage today. I often make this with red cabbage, but a green cabbage, white cabbage or red cabbage, you're not restricted really. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to remove some outside leaves, because I'm going to use these to hold the sauerkraut down when we put it in the jars in a bit. So I'm going to just try and peel these off. Let's just give it a bit of a, see if I can get it from here. They act as a bit of a spring to hold it under the brine. If the sauerkraut comes above the brine, then you can actually start growing mould. So you need to keep it under that water, that brine water. So there's one leaf, and let's go. I need just a couple. Now, I have forgotten to do this before, and you can still do it, but it's easier to use the natural leaves, I think. And then you discard these leaves. I'm going to see if I can get one more. Here we go. As I might make two. Not sure which one I'm cutting here. I think it's that one. I'm going to probably make 2 jars. I'm not sure how much I'll get out of this. There we go. Right, there's my leaves. Now I will get the bowl. Won't be a moment. Right, so got my bowl. Right, quite simply, just need to cut the cabbage into quarters. With a sharp knife, and then we want to remove the core. Check that over. Here we go. Not much there. There. And now you can either chop this by hand, which when I do red cabbage I tend to do it by hand. I quite like it a little bit chunky, but with white cabbage I prefer it to be a finer cut. So I've got my food processor here with the grating attachment, and I need to just make sure I cut these into pieces that will go through. Yeah, they're okay. These two I think are going to be too big. Yeah, so I'll cut those two down and cut them in half. There we go. Right, and now let's just get grating. There. Whoop. Right, so I'm just going to scrape the lid down straight into a bowl. And take out the big chunks. And there will be some more big chunks in here. But you can see quite a bit of juice coming out already, and we want that liquid. We want to start to encourage the water in the cabbage to come forward and come out. Right, so if I just, there's only big bits like these, I'll get these out. Don't have to, I mean you could leave them in as long as they're under the water, but right, I'm going to use the knife. There we go. So now I've got my cabbage in the bowl. I want 2 more ingredients. I want my salt and I want some caraway seeds, and now I need to get my spoons. So I did weigh my cabbage before I started, and it came in just under 800 grams, and therefore we'll need about just under a tablespoon of sea salt. So I've got spoon here. When I do it with red cabbage, I have to admit I never weigh it. I just go for it, but it's usually about the same amount, usually same size sort of cabbage. And then I've got some caraway seeds here, which are optional. You don't have to put caraway seeds in, but they can add a nice flavour to the cabbage. And I'm going to put about half a teaspoon in here. Right, that's all the ingredients. I'm just going to give it a bit of a mix, just with my hands. Another big cabbage leaf, take that out. As I say, you don't have to. I'll probably use those in something else later on. I might do a little salad with those and some carrot, a bit like a coleslaw. Right, so that's all sort of mixed together. So I'm making such a mess. I think I said before I'm not a particularly tidy cook. I've got 2 jars here because I might need 2. I should just do the one to start with. What I'm going to do is just get a handful, drop it in the jar, and try and fill it till it's just about a centimetre or 2 below the top, and I might add more in a moment. Right, And then I'm just going to knead it with my fist. When you do red cabbage, you do get a lot of the red cabbage liquid, the dye, the colour in the cabbage all over your hands. So don't do it before you're going on an event, because your hands and your nails would look terrible. But you knead it. Basically, kneading it is pushing the salt in, and that draws the moisture out of the cabbage. And we keep going until we've got, I need to add more cabbage now. You keep going until you get enough moisture to cover the cabbage. And we're going to put more in. It does go down. Oh, now I can feel it squelching, starting to squelch a bit. Of course, you can just do this in a bowl and then decant it if you want. I've done that as well. It's just, sometimes this is just as easy to do it in the jar. I'm going to put some more in. Don't know whether you can hear the moisture. Just show you. It's coming. It's coming up. It's not enough yet, so I'm going to keep going. It doesn't take too long to do this, and it is very simple. But you might want to do, if you've got do a phone call with somebody you're close to, you could have a hands-free call and do this at the same time, because you don't have to really think about this. It doesn't take much brain power. It's coming into a little paddling pool now. I think I might add just a bit more. Okay. Or you could listen to a podcast, or watch a little video whilst you're doing it. If you're time poor, of course. I mean, some people, this is just quite therapeutic, really. I'm getting quite a lot of moisture. I still think I want some more. I want to make sure it's covered. There are some people who, when they make sauerkraut, they actually make a brine and pour it over. I have done that. I find this sufficient. And when I made a brine up and poured it over, I found it seemed a bit salty, but it may be I hadn't got the measures quite right. And I use sea salt because it's got some lovely minerals in it that our bodies can use. But rock salt, generally rock salt isn't very supportive of health. So when they say reduce salt, if it's rock salt, i.e. the normal table salt that you get, I wouldn't include that in my diet. But sea salt, I would. There are benefits to sea salt. It can be very beneficial. So, yeah. So this is like cabbage in the sea. Alright, this is coming on nicely. I think I'll just keep going a bit longer. I want to make sure I've got a good bit of moisture coming up over the top. And later in the season, when we've got some apples, I need to make some more apple cider vinegar. I made some, probably last time I made some was about 3 years ago, and it's lasted me all this time. And and you can use windfalls to do it. You can when you buy apples to eat, you could take the peel off and the cores and make it from those. So well, I'll do apple cider vinegar when I've got some apples, which will probably be our Pink Lady. You will probably start producing late July, early August, I think. Definitely August. Whereas our other tree, and I don't know what our other tree is, but it does a lovely green apple. That's a later, it comes later in the season. Here we go. Right. I think I've got enough here. Still need to pack it down underneath. I might keep going. And I did clean my hands thoroughly before I did this. I cut my nails this morning to make sure they were short, and I've scrubbed my hands and my nails just in case anybody's worried. But to be honest, I don't think anybody other than myself will be eating this. At this stage, there's no plan particularly. But with what's been found, I was looking into this a while back, into fermented foods, and I was interested in a report I found on children with ADHD and some other sort of autistic spectrum issues, and they found that those children who were given just the liquid from a fermented sauerkraut or kimchi showed improvements in their ADHD or autistic behaviours. And it was thought that it basically is improving the gut microbiome, the gut bacteria, and that does interplay with the brain. And you know, very clearly there's evidence on that. And as a result, there was vast improvements in their attention span, schooling, behaviour, which is interesting. It does sort of support the argument that maybe our modern way of living and eating isn't really conducive necessarily to our successful growth and development. Right, let's see if I can show you this. It's without spilling it. It's really quite, yeah, it might spill, but there's quite a lot of moisture there now. I'm thinking I might need just a bit more. I might just leave it for a minute. And then what I'm going to do is get one of the leaves. I've turned it inside out. Where the stem is, I'm just going to fold that in. It's sadly not as springy as it could be. And fold it in, and then it should spring up. I might use two. As I say, this one's better. All right, this one. Let's go with it this way. So I'm rolling it. You can see how nice and bulbous it is, and going to pop that in on top, put the lid down. This will hold it all down under the water, under the brine, and keep it submerged so it doesn't become mouldy. Okay. Pop that in. I haven't put the seal on. Let's get the seal. Little rubber seal. So before I use the jars, I sterilise them, and I actually put them in a hot oven. I washed them, and whilst they were still wet, I didn't dry them. I popped them into a, well, actually I put them into the range because that came on. So that sterilised them. You could quite easily just put your storage jar into the dishwasher and put it through a cycle there as well. But there we go. So that is holding the cabbage down, the sauerkraut down under the water, and I'm going to leave that in a cupboard, actually, just underneath the unit, and check on it every day and see how it goes. So I'm waiting for bubbles to appear to show it's fermenting, and I'm going to open it every day to let the gas out, otherwise they can explode. And I will also put it on a saucer, because with that pressure that builds up from that fermentation, even with the seal, you can still get moisture come out and seep down. So I don't want it all over the bottom of the cupboards. So I'll have it on a little saucer down there. So it'll probably take about, because it's quite warm at the moment, it's about 21 degrees in here. So in summer months it's much quicker to ferment, so I just need to keep an eye on it. And once it starts to bubble nicely, and I'll do a taste test, once I think it's at the right level of ferment, which is, as you know, to your taste, then I discard the cabbage leaf and put it in the fridge, and just then use it as I want it. But if I don't want to use it straight away, you can seal it and then store it. I'm not sure how many months for. I've never actually stored them for that long. I eat them. But yes, I mean, if you've got a glass of cabbages, this could be a way of using them. But cabbage does tend to last quite well, like squash. You can actually keep them quite some time, unlike some other vegetables that go off much quicker. But that's a nice way to have some fresh vegetables in the winter months. If you want to use seasonal veg, and go ahead with that. So that's as easy as it is. If I remember, I will film the checking of it and put that in next week's video for those who want to follow on with this. But otherwise, that's my simple sauerkraut, and I hope you'll have a go, and I'll see you again soon. Thank you for joining me.